Hello everyone, Luke here. Now before we get into the review, I just want to say a couple of quick little things. Is that Dr. Stone video will be out sometime in the coming week. I don't know when that'll be, but I have yet to watch the next 3 episodes that are going to be coming out, so that'll be coming in within the next few days or so. We'll be getting on with that, but also it's Halloween, so perfect day to be talking about the Promised Neverland, especially when you've had something that you've been predicting for a very long time. Well, not sure if I did it in the Lewis video, and that's the key here, the Lewis video, but I know for a fact that I did it in one of my most recent reviews, probably about 3 months ago when I did this review, and I called this, and I was like, yes, when I read the chapter today, I was like, yes, I got it, I knew that was going to happen. So yeah, let's just dive right into the review. Alright, so this will be chapter 156, titled "Let's End This." A very bold statement from whoever this was actually referring to, but also it does make sense considering the fact that what happens in this chapter is basically leading to the climax of the battle with the Demon Queen herself, and also adding in another little twist that I saw coming. I don't know if a lot of people did, but I've been reading comments and apparently some people did not see this coming, but if they really stopped to think about it, it did make sense. But yeah, that's the title of the chapter, and let's get right into diving into the contents of this chapter. Alright, so we pick up from the end of the last chapter where we have the Demon Queen, and if you remember, she was in that little cocoon state, surrounded by all the faces of everyone that have either been killed in the series or have probably been sacrificed to the Demon Queen and the demon god themselves, and all their faces are sort of morphed into that cocoon space as it rips right open, and the Queen steps out of it, and she's walking towards Norman, Emma, Ray, and Sassy with the caption going, the hope they hold, could it all be for nothing? Possibly, considering it is the Queen that you're talking about, and if you had with the fight with Lewis and how difficult that was, yeah, this is going to be 10 times worse in that regard. But continuing on, as the Queen is walking up to them, Norman is shocked because he had no idea that this was going to happen. He's a character of getting everything down to a T for his plan to go the way he wanted it, but because he had absolutely no idea that the Queen was capable of this ability, he's shocked and also slightly annoyed by it, the fact that his plan has gone basically out of the window, and he thought that it was all going to be going the way he wanted. But as you can see from the facial expression after he's had shock, he's in anger at all of this, as Emma and Ray are more like just surprised about what is going on here, the fact that this is something new for them, something that they never thought that was possible with the demon race, and the fact that they were able to resurrect. Now, there is an explanation for it, and I'm just going to say it now, the face, she's completely faceless at this point, but there is an explanation for it. And now, a lot of people are thinking, was it going to be Lewis, or was it going to be Isabella that was going to appear on the face? But there is actually another legitimate explanation that I'm actually alright with, as we'll soon see. As the question of what is actually going on here, what is that is thrown about, we get the title page which reads, "The gate to despair is thrown open," as we see the Queen again just sauntering out of her cocoon state, and it's showing that her face is just completely blank, and Norman's like, it doesn't even have a face, and Emma's just what? Before she remembers back at the beginning of the arc when they went to that temple and they found that that being that had no face on it, just sitting on an altar itself, and this is and Emma says, almost like back at the temple, the Queen was resurrected, again referencing the end of the tale of the last chapter, which was resurrection. Nice touch there from Ray to actually bring that up, and he brings up similar to an insect's metamorphosis. That is the Queen, right? And she's like, how wonderful, basically confirming that, yes, she is definitely the Queen in this. She just underwent a metamorphosis, and if that's a bit far-fetched, some some insects are actually capable of that. Like they're able to basically shed basically their skin and able to form a new body, and or undergo some sort of transformation by combining with other creatures of their species. Like if you remember in Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, the main villain Shakina, she underwent that when she was like grievously injured. She went through a metamorphosis and she came out stronger and more agile than before, and this is demonstrated very well with the Queen herself. So maybe like she had some sort of like insect DNA in her that were able to undergo this metamorphosis transformation, or maybe it's just something intuitive to her royal bloodline. As the Queen stares down them all, she's like, "How wonderful! The very best premier products from Gracefield Plantation. This is fantastic. You are all standing here right in front of me." So maybe this was actually her plan from the start, like to get to like actually get them to kill her, so that she could actually undergo this metamorphosis and become basically a stronger force to reckon with them, or to stand toe to toe with them in that regard. The Queen continues on and says, "It's just as they said. All of you are alive. I had almost given up, but you attacked my capital and attacked my retainers, not to mention defying me. You cattle children from Lambedy and Gracefield Escapes will all return to me." Again, this is very reminiscent of Lewis and how arrogant he could come across his personality, but at the same time, just a little bit of respect for her opponents in that regard, showing that yes, even though she's completely psychotic, she still has that tiny little respect, and it's like, yeah, I am not going to underestimate you, which is why I'm going to go through this transformation to be an even bigger threat to you all in that regard. Before continuing on, saying, "I'm going to enjoy eating every single one of you," as she proceeds to grab Sassy. And this completely caught me off guard when I first saw this, when it was just like, I'm going to eat every single one of you. I was just like, whoa. Again, that doesn't surprise me, because the Queen actually does have the super speed that Songju and Lewis actually had, which again is gonna play a very important part in the ending of this chapter. I think you all know where this is actually going. But anyway, something that I didn't actually notice right away is that, because I was just focusing so much on the Queen's face and how her face, because her face just has all these mouths just like appearing over, I didn't see the mouths that are like appearing all over her arm as well. So that's an interesting touch there, how she just has so many mouths, that was it. So many mouths just coming out of it, and it's like, whoa, holy shit, that's pretty freaky, but at the same time, that is pretty awesome as well. And as Sassy is grabbed, Norman just calls out, "As Sassy as ever, wastes no time in just trying to shoot down the Demon Queen." But of course, Sassy being Sassy is just quick to actually just slice her completely in half. But as we all know, because the Queen has resurrected herself, she is able to get back. She's basically back at full strength, so she's able to just quickly just sew herself all back together, basically regenerate at just like lightning quick speed. So it's more like Sassy Sasha, but then just like like that, just like that in the blink of an eye, basically. And Sassy's like, yeah, as in like he was not expecting that to actually happen. So like all this from the Sassy slashing the Queen, to the Queen regenerating herself, to the Queen actually just karate chopping Sassy right in the neck and throwing him right into a wall. Like that probably happens in the span of like 3 seconds. So it's like what, all of that like just happens in the span of 3 seconds, and again showing just how formidable the Queen has become thanks to this metamorphosis that she's actually become. Again, like I said, very reminiscent of Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, how Jaquina became so much stronger and more agile that Leo, the Red Ranger, was having a hard enough time keeping up with her, and it's probably going to be something similar to here. And honestly, even though I was disappointed with the way it happened, I'm really glad now, looking back on it, that the Queen is actually alive, so that we actually have a chance for Emma and the Queen to actually have a face-off in this regard. Not only Emma and the Queen, but also Ray and Norman to have a face-off with the Queen, and showing just how prominent these three characters are. Like, it was always going to be them at the end game of the series. No pun intended, because based on what happened in Avengers Endgame itself. So as Sassy is thrown right into to all, Norman wastes no time in going over to his comrade to basically comfort him and be like, Sassy, are you okay? As the Queen is watching this and just relishing in her newfound power, because I think she had an idea of what was actually going to happen with her when she undergo the metamorphosis, but I don't think she actually knew to this extent how far it would actually go, and she just mentioned it as like as Emma again just wastes no time and just trying to shoot her gun directly at the Queen, but the Queen's like, will you shoot 63194 81194, and it shows Ray just like actually holding his gun as well. Again, trying to make them maintain that notion that they are not killers, but at the same time, they know that they want to shoot, but they're probably thinking like, if we shoot right now, she's probably going to dodge out of the way, and we're probably going to hit Norman and Sassy by mistake as well, and that's going to be a major problem further down the line. So they're probably just taking their time and weighing out their options here, and they're not rushing into it as rash as they probably should be at this point, because of how fast and strong the Queen has actually demonstrated herself to be. But anyway, continuing on, they go on to Norman goes on to think, in one shot Sassy was, even though Gearan exhausted that much, she completely recovered. Even after we chopped through her head, she still kept her composure. No, the problem is what was inside of her head. There wasn't a brain or anything else for that matter. And yes, there wasn't a brain as well. So this actually proves that her brain is somewhere else on her body at this point. It could actually be her stomach herself. It could be her shoulder. They just have no idea of where they actually need to shoot. And this honestly reminds me of one of my most terrifying creatures in recent memories. Now, I did play this game back in the day on the PS2, but now getting it on the Switch, yes, I got a Switch for myself, and I got this game, Resident Evil 4, one of my most favourite games of all time, but also one of my most terrifying, especially going through it again the first time and realising how powerless you can easily become without the assortment of powerful weapons. Like, just that first time going through the game and being that powerless, that just made the scenes even more terrifying. Or I shouldn't say the scenes, more like the levels or stages that much more terrifying. But anyway, besides that, the Queen here reminds me so much of the Regenerators, Iron Maidens, whatever you want to call them, from Resident Evil 4. And again, they're pretty terrifying themselves. It's just the grunt that they make, the and just that background music of that dawn. That just absolutely made me terrible, especially when you have Ashley with you and you're just like trying to just run them out. And again, they're pretty fast themselves. Again, the Queen almost reminds me of them as well, and just the fact that you can't shoot them in the head because they'll just regenerate themselves. You have to shoot you need the infrared scope to find out, like, okay, where their pressure points are, basically, or where their heart points are. And that's basically similar to what's happening here with the Queen, how she probably has more points in her body that they have to shoot at before her body just completely explodes and she's dead. I wonder if that's where they're actually going from here. Like, they're taking inspiration from the Queen and her bloodline, from the Regenerators, from Resident Evil 4. And if that's the case, that's total respect right there, and I've got to give it hands off for the creators of the series for actually going through with that idea, if that's actually the case. Because again, I can't help but notice this, because like I said, the Regenerators don't have a brain, and if you shoot them, they'll just regenerate, right? They'll just regenerate like rapidly. You have to shoot them in multiple places before you can actually have a chance to actually get rid of them. Unless, of course, you have a rocket launcher, in which case fire away at them. But that's besides the point. They don't have rocket launchers in the Promised Neverland, and they have to use more clever tactics in order to undergo their enemies. But yeah, I couldn't help but be reminded of the Regenerators when reading this chapter. Okay, so continuing on, Norman goes, no face, no eyes, and no core. If that's the case, what can we possibly hope here? And this is the difference that we get from Ray in this chapter and Norman in this chapter, and it's kind of like a flip of the coin. Whereas before, in the beginning of the series, Ray was more like rash and impulsive and just not thinking straight, whereas Norman was more like the calm demeanor one and thinking things through in a calm and controlled manner. Whereas here, Norman's like the more like irrational thinking one, whereas Ray is the more calm demeanor one, as he goes to say, no, Emma and I have been watching that demon, trying to understand what it is. We still can't confirm if it's real, if it really doesn't have any eyes or core. Calm down. Don't hesitate. The core could be hidden and constantly moving, or maybe her core is in a different position than than other demons. And again, this is what I said earlier on in the chapter, how the demon queen is probably taunting them to actually shoot, but I was like, no, they're keeping their calm demeanor because they know that they have to keep that, because any false move and it could be all over there for them. And we get a flashback to when they were actually doing the fight with Lewis, and how he just got the bullets and was just like caught them, and Emma's like, shooting her with guns probably won't work, but there must be some clue we can find. There has to be. And I love that they put Lewis in here, because this is one of the times when they were actually thinking about the fight with Lewis, how they had this opponent that was pretty unstoppable in of himself, and just generally a force to be reckoned with, and how just shooting him wouldn't be enough, and they would have to use more tactical maneuvers to actually defeat him. And maybe this is going to be like a similar fight to the Lewis fight in that regard, of how they'll have to use more tactics and more maneuvers to actually defeat the queen, and basically get her out of power from the demon world, to be able to have peace and prosperity for them as a human race. But again, like I said, I love that. I love the fact that Ray's the one who's like the more calm demeanor one. Again, showing like the difference of the difference of circumstances and environments that can have a profound impact on people, but also of the way of how they react to other situations around them. And this is definitely shown with just the different paths that Ray and Emma have taken, as opposed to Norman. As the queen starts to sliver her body around, now I don't know if Emma and Ray are actually shooting in this panel. From the looks of things, I can't really tell, but it doesn't look like they're actually shooting. They're just watching her as she's like slithering and manoeuvring. Although it could be the fact that they are shooting at her, that just they're actually shooting her body, not her face. They're not going for her face, they're going for her body, and she's like slithering out of the way to actually avoid them. And she's like, as they're like, huh, what is that? I'm scared. This is bad. I can't move. Or maybe it's just the force of the demon queen, like just towering over them, and just how much of a monstrosity he is, that's just like freezing them in place, like, I want to shoot but I can't shoot. And we get her just like fast moving over to where Emma and Ray are, as like her claws just dangling over Emma, sort of like reminiscent of the time when Lewis was electrocuted, but then he still tried to go after Emma. And again, this is going to have so many references to that fight, as we'll see coming up. But before we continue, before we get to that point, they're like, move, as the queen just goes down on Emma, and it's like, good girl. And it's like, oh my god, that is so creepy. And Norman is just panicking at this point for Emma and Ray to actually move. But before the queen can actually do anything, she gets shot at by four claws that are just extending out of her. Now, I honestly didn't pay attention to this when I first read it this morning, but this ability is the queen's ability as well. Just the claws just like extending, and sure enough, it's from Sungju. So I might as well just say it right now. Sungju and the queen are related. They are brother and sister, and by extension, Lewis is their brother as well. So yeah, Lewis, Sungju and the queen are all related, and there's no point in hiding it right now, because Sungju has basically demonstrated the same ability as the queen. He's got the same mask as Lewis and the queen, like a similar looking mask, and he's able to do the speed step. Now, I'm not one for bragging, but if you remember chapter 143, roll the clip. Now, the thing I want to talk about is actually Sungju's mask, which actually looks very similar to Lewis's mask. And the fact that Lewis had that just like in a blink of an eye, he just appeared behind you, and Sungju has that as well, makes me believe that Sungju and Lewis are related. But if that's the case, that wouldn't surprise me that Sungju and Lewis are related, and it would actually make a lot of sense why Lewis, when he was actually being killed, quote unquote, because we don't know what happened to him, why in that moment when he was flashing before his eyes, we saw Sungju and Musica before he actually went down. So there has to be a connection with them. There has to be an actual connection with them about Lewis, and the fact that he was actually brought up recently, Lewis, in the manga to actually getting brought back into the story makes me think that Lewis and Songju have actually a connection, and also by the extension the Demon Queen itself, because they all have similar masks. And Lewis, I feel like Lewis and Songju have a similar smile as well. So again, that's just my opinion that Songju and Lewis are related. Maybe they're brothers, or maybe Songju was the brother that was cast aside or something because he didn't believe in what they were actually doing. Boom! I called it! 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 Oh, that is so good! Oh, that is so good. And it's going to be revealed. The Queen is actually going to reveal that Songju is her brother. But, oh my god, that was beautiful. 10, not even 10 weeks, 30 weeks, 3 months in advance when I called it, I called it, I called it, this is Halloween, this is Halloween, I called it, this is Halloween, this is Halloween, I called it, in this town, we go home to call things in the promised Neverland, this is Halloween, I called it, guys, and, I've been waiting to do that for so long, and what a perfect day to do it on Halloween. And yes, the director of Nightmare Before Christmas confirms that it is a Halloween film. But that was beautiful. Reminded me so much of the time when I predicted that Isabella was Ray's mother based on the image of her just being pregnant. That was just beautiful. Yeah, I was going to save that for the end, guys, but I had to do it here just because Songju just uses the same ability as the Queen, and we find out that, again, it is Songju and Musica that are appearing right now. And I'm not going to lie, like I said, it was beautiful, and yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Now that it's been confirmed that Songju, Lewis and the Queen are all related, again, like I said in the chapter 143 review, I predict that Songju was someone who saw the same things that were going on that Giran saw, and he tried to negotiate with his sister, but she just banished him to the wastelands. Now, if you feel that's a bit rough on the Queen to actually banish her own brother to the wastelands, if you really think about it, in chapter 152, the Queen actually killed her father in cold blood just to take the throne herself. So again, that doesn't surprise me. So yeah, that's what I would say. So it's been confirmed, Songju is part of the royal bloodline, and again, this makes me wonder if Songju also has the same abilities that Lewis and the Queen actually have, in terms of how he could regenerate, and it's not just the eye that they have to take out, but it's other parts of his body, like the eye, like the brain, but like the brain is not in his head, it's somewhere else on his body, and this also gives credence to how Lewis can actually come back into the story. The fact that we did not see his body at the destruction of Goldie Pond, we just saw like his cape. I believe it was just his cape and hat and his blood, like his clothes, his hat and his blood. So again, that's probably what happened. Lewis was just knocked unconscious, and he found a way to escape, and he's gonna come back as one of the as possibly the final villain that they have to overcome in this regard. So anyway, continuing on after that all glorious celebration that I had, Songju and Musica arrive, and they're like, sorry for the wait, and we're like, Songju, Musica, and we see Emma just like using the device that Songju gave them when the Queen was undergoing like her grotesque transformation, pressing it 3 times. And that was how they were able to find them right away, and like, oh shit, they're in trouble, we better be going right now. Musica comes in and is like, are you two okay? Any injuries? And Ray's like, no, you saved us, thank you. And they explain that the situation outside of the castle is fine, they should be able to handle the rest of them. And we see a flashback of the demon children that Songju and Musica saved, and Dawn, Gilda and Ayashi saved, giving blood to everyone and saying like, you will be healed. And Songju goes on to say, we told Dawn and Gilda about a secret pathway, don't worry, they'll be leaving the capital soon. And that's kind of disappointing for me, in the sense that yes, they've done their part and they've done a major part and in helping overcome this situation. But at the same time, I would have really loved to have actually had them in the final battle against the Queen, because they're still major secondary characters. Like the secondary main characters behind Emma, Ray, and Norman themselves. But besides the point, Dawn says to it, "Got it. We're fine over here. Go and help Emma." And again, it makes I feel like it makes more sense for Songju and Musica to be there as opposed to them, because now they have some sort of backup and a chance to actually fight against the Queen. As Emma is on the verge of tears and just breaking down, we get a look over at Norman, who's just like amazed by this. It's like, oh my god, Emma was right. She really was friends with the Cursed Maiden and that. And I really just want to see a sort of like interaction between Musica and Norman, and how they're actually going to interact on neutral ground themselves, because I don't think Norman at this point is probably going to attempt to try and kill her, especially after seeing her interact with Emma in this regard, and just seeing how much of a relationship they actually have at this point, and seeing like how wrong he actually was. And it will be interesting to see how he actually admits to how wrong he actually is. But anyway, that is for later. Now we've got to get on to the main meat of the actual ending of the chapter. Anyway, continuing on, they go on to face the Queen herself, and it's like now on to her, as we see the Queen just pulling out the spears, the spears that came out from Songju's claws, and just dropping them to the ground and being able to generate herself. As Songju goes on to say, "That form. So you finally turned into a monster both inside and out." Now that is very interesting, because it shows the difference between Songju and his sister, the Queen, and how different paths that they've taken out. How I believe like some of the demons, some of the higher up demons like Giron and Songju actually had some sort of resemblance of compassion, and weren't actually necessarily evil all around. They were just doing what they could to survive in this world, and also doing it for the beneficial of their people. But they saw how corrupt the Queen was coming, and it's just like, okay, so you're a monster now, both inside and out. And it makes me wonder if Songju would actually go through the metamorphosis, or would he die as like a proper demon rather than trying to cheat death itself. Songju goes on to say to Emma and Ray that it won't work. Negotiating peace with her is impossible, and it's like a bold statement there, like impossible, showing like, yeah, you can't reason with the Queen, with the Demon Queen. She's totally in charge, and she's gonna stay in charge no matter what anyone listens to. She may be like, yes, that's very interesting, but I'm still going to do what I want to do. As Musica goes on to say, the Reginald houses are all dead here. If we wanted to try settling this with talking, we would have needed Duke Ivor or Lord Poo Poo. We didn't make it in time. Now, like I said, I knew this was probably going to be bad on Norman's part, because he was like, I'm going to just wipe out all the demons. And yeah, that's very true. But what happens if you get down to the last one and they're not negotiating? And it's like, oh, you need this demon to be alive to be able to negotiate with them, at least have a conversation with them. And it's like, oh shit, in that regard. But anyway, that's something that I kind of predicted would happen, that Norman doing all of this just made the situation 10 times worse for everyone, and that has pretty much been proven at this point, because they go on to say, I didn't think, the Demon Queen goes on to say, I didn't think I would see you, Songju, so you're aiding the humans. I wonder what the circumstances are this time. You know, Queenie, you know what the circumstances are. It's like, yeah, we are just trying to sort out this whole mess that you've actually put us all in. And again, this is going back to what I was saying earlier, that Songju was the demon that was just like kicked out. He was like banished from the royal bloodline, or stripped of his title from the royal bloodline. As the Queen goes on to say, well, whatever. In one single day, I'm going to settle dealing with the cursed blood and recapturing the escapees. What a lucky day. Yeah, you really think you're going to do that, Queenie? Especially when you're dealing with the main character here. Mind you, given how this series goes, I'm not sure that, I don't think Emma is probably going to make it out alive, or I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. But anyway, besides that, Songju goes on to say, yes, it is. We've come to settle things with you too. As they get a flashback of them saying, let's head to the royal capital. Sounds good, right, Songju? As we get a a thought from Musica going, for 700 years, all we've done is run away. Let's end this. Referencing the title of the chapter, so yeah, ending the suffering that's been going on for 700 years, and again, that's the same time that Giron was actually banished from the courts as well. So again, just makes way too much sense that it was not only Giron, but it was also Songju and Musica that were just that it was also Songju and Musica, or maybe Songju knew where Musica was, but was actually not saying anything, and it was for that reason that he was banished and just being like, "You're worthless, get out of here, we'll find her ourselves." And he's probably been actually helping, or maybe he wasn't interrogating. He just like grabbed Musica. It's like, "We've got to get out of here before they actually kill you." And they were just on the run the whole time. That's probably the reason why they're like, "Okay, we're coming to settle this with you once and for all. Now we've been on the run for 700 years, but now we're not running away. We're coming to face you head on." As we get flashbacks from Musica's perspective about from all the times that her blood has actually helped out the demon race, we get Songju just preparing to launch at the Queen and going, "I'm going to kill you right here, right now," as everyone is looking on and the Queen's just like, "Kill you? Kill me? How you really are foolish, my little brother." And that's where the chat ends. So yes, like I said before, I called this as well, and I wanted to save the dance for this moment, or just like the clip where I actually played when it was chapter 143. But I think people probably figured it out from just the way the Queen just like. From when she was first introduced, how she just used her claws to extend and kill that butterfly, and Songju did the same ability here. I thought it would be more of an appropriate moment to actually say it there. But again, it's very much emphasised here that the Queen and Songju and Lewis are all siblings, and we get the captions which read, "Songju shouldering salvation. The shocking truth behind this attack is revealed." And again, I feel like the truth is that he found out something, grabbed Musica and escaped with her, or like he was banished. He was basically banished, disowned, and just left out to rot in the fields away from the capital, or he chose to banish himself, or something like that. But yeah, that's probably what's going to go on here, because again, it's 700 years, same time when Giron was actually banished as well. But besides that, yeah. Songju, Lewis, and the Queen are related. So again, I called it. I'm not going to do the dance all again now, because I've just done it for I've just done it in like the span of like 10 minutes. But yeah, I was really glad that I was really happy with this chapter. It was mostly a fighting chapter, and just like getting Songju and Musica into the action, getting some like great insight into Norman's perspective on Musica being friends with Emma, whilst also getting a look at like the differences in the lives that have been taken from not just Ray but also from Norman as well, and also getting Songju and Musica into the frame, and basically the big reveal of the Queen, Lewis, and Songju being related, which again, like I said, makes so much sense because they have similar masks. Actually, do they wear similar clothing now that I think about it? Oh no, they don't. But no, they wear similar masks and have too many similar abilities. But anyway, guys, that was it. What did you think of this chapter? What did you think of the revelation? And were you impressed with the chapter? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And this will be Luke signing off. Later, guys.